What's the most you've seen someone be so out of touch with reality? My father, by far. But the coin incident was the farthest from reality he's ever been. My dad collects coins because his extremely Hungarian immigrant grandfather convinced him that the bank capitalizing it, because to him, all banks are just one huge world bank. He's determined to steal all his money from him, so he has to have a backup plan. This in and of itself isn't too extreme. Plenty of people choose self-sustenance due to a distrust in government and economics, but the real kicker happened when he tried to roll his coins. He has to order his coin rolls online because he doesn't want to go to the bank and get coin rolls, because then the bank will know how much money he's hiding from them. I'm not kidding. Anyway, he ordered a bag of coin rolls and waited about a month for them to come before he started getting curious where they were. He asked my mom to check the order tracking while he was at work one day, which led to this conversation. Mom, Dad's name. It says here that the package made it to town we live in 2 weeks ago, but got sent back. It says you gave no delivery address. Dad. Yad. Why would I do that? I don't want them to know where I live. They might tell everyone. My coworker's 17-year-old daughter had her first job interview recently. It was at a movie theater. When she got home, her mom asked how it went. Daughter, I told them that I was only interested in a job that would let me work from home. That way, I can get snacks whenever I want. I would have loved to have been a witness to the interviewer's expression at that moment. What about the kid in Texas who murdered 4 people with his car, then pleaded that he was too rich to value other humans' lives? Went on a trip with an ex to Asia. She didn't like it because she couldn't understand why people didn't speak English, so she would just yell at them, I need a napkin. Bathroom, where? I pretty much told her to have some respect for people. Talk to them politely. She got all mad and fussy at me the whole trip. This is actually advice I give people. Go on an extended vacation with someone before you marry them. Foreign countries are especially effective. There are few situations which will be more revealing of personal character and the strength of your interpersonal dynamics. Someone I know thinks Soviet Union still exists and only our country left it. Okay, so I was 15 and working at McDonald's. I was at the back window where you take people's money. A customer came and blew past the back speaker where you order. That was pretty typical, so I figured it was just a normal mistake. When they get to my window, it is the very old lady. She smiles at me, holds a grocery bag up with frozen chicken and a 2-liter of soda. She holds out a $20 bill and asks how much for the chicken and soda. 15-year-old me didn't have the coping skills for this. I stared at her for what felt like forever. Finally I said out, I think you're confused. She drove off, with her car halfway over the curb. I spent several minutes staring blankly at the screen after this one. I still can't fathom what kind of transaction she was trying to participate in. This right here is why we need to reevaluate who can have a driver's license more than never. You get it when you're 16 and it's go until you die is not a safe policy when it lets Grandma Agnes legally drive when she can't stay on the road and doesn't know what's real. This one is pretty short, but my sister was the usual rich white party college girl, always complaining that she was broke and didn't have time to get a job because she was so busy all day with school only took for classes and generally being a dumb spoiled girl. Come her 4th year, when she's supposed to graduate, and she suddenly springs it on my dad that she can't graduate because of a terrible GPA. And at the same time my dad had lost his job, so he just cut her off completely financially. She fucking fell apart, couldn't deal with it, moved to Florida with her mom, took out loans until she was $10,000 in debt, took a year and a half extra to finally graduate, and got addicted to pills. Then she did so much Adderall she had a seizure, moved back in with my dad, and then had an early life crisis and up and moved in with a friend in Colorado talking about how she had free rent and would figure the rest out when she got there and yada yada. She has a bachelor's in business, supposedly doesn't want an office job of any sort. Her friend moved away suddenly to Washington to chase someone she had a crush on. Now my sister is begging me weekly to let her live with me in my apartment for free because she doesn't want to live with my parents, and she asked me to get her a job at my work, and she bought a fucking dog for no reason and can't afford to raise it. I am ranting, but my sister is not a forward thinker. Actually, she's just not a thinker in general. My first job was running the cash register drive-thru at a shitty Hardee's restaurant. Now, while nearly everyone that worked there was either in high school or in some stage of the recidivism process, this one middle-aged fella was a real gem. He claimed to have an IQ of 180, but refused to join Mensa because it was beneath him. Made thousands of dollars selling cigarettes to underage kids while he was in high school. And of course, he went on to serve in the military as a Special Forces commando. He never did explain how he ended up 300 pounds washing dishes in a greasy kitchen while detailing his life story to a scrawny 16-year-old. A guy no once told me that dinosaurs were a hoax, and dinosaur bones were floating in space when God formed the earth. That's why they're trapped in the ground. About 3 years ago, I had a young woman, probably early 20s, come into the cafe I work at. She ordered herself a drink and a pastry of some sort. Her total around $6. She proceeded to hand me a $1 bill and 6 quarters. I took the money and waited for her to procure more, but she just stood there staring at me. I told her, "I'm sorry, it's $6.87 or whatever." She says, "I know I gave you 7. I said, "No, this is only $2.25. She took the money from my hand and counted each item in front of me like I was stupid, counting each item as $1. I pointed to the quarters as told her, "Those are quarters, not dollars." Keep in mind this person was obviously not foreign or anything. She had no accent and seemed completely American. Anyway, her response was, "I know they're quarters, but they're dollars." She then proceeded to pick up one of the quarters and point to the word dollar inscribed on the bottom beneath George's head. At this point, I was thinking, this is the single dumbest person I've ever seen, or this is the worst con ever conceived. But she didn't give up. She demanded to speak to a manager. I got the manager and he told her the same thing. She started getting visibly upset and holding back tears. She might have been embarrassed. Best I can figure is that she somehow never learned about money and change somehow and used it so rarely that she assumed quarters were dollars because technically the word dollar was on the coin. I work at a recording studio. The amount of people who think they're going to be the next big thing is scary. Not unique to music. I do freelance software development on the side. The number of people who think that their stupid twist on social networking, usually that could just be implemented as a Facebook group or a subreddit or something, is going to make them a billionaire and that I should therefore just work for equity, i.e. for free, is surprising. My boss' daughter has 4 or 5 duos, so they took her license away and installed the Uber app on her phone. She tells people she has a personal driver. Edited to add, she has duos in multiple states. She almost got arrested for interfering when her daughter got arrested for DUI. Mom was in the car, too. I used to work in a pizza place and my boss, the owner, was one of the strangest guys I've ever met. He used to tell me that the world was run by reptilian aliens and that the moon was their base. He knew this because NASA once hit something off the moon and it sounded like a bell and thus must be hollow and full of lizard people. Left that job after 3 weeks. Got a good one. I went to school at UBC for a year and lived in the dorms. One of the super rich Chinese kids that populated my school lived on the same floor as me. Her first day there, she took a shower in the public bathroom and then just left all her clothes strewn about. She assumed the maid would come pick them up and wash them. I've heard this is actually a thing at my university. Chinese students have to pay university fees up front in the UC, so many of them are supposedly quite well off and sometimes just give away their clothes because it's easier, cheaper than taking them back to China at the end of each year. Similar story was a field engineer on the construction of some very large expensive dorms. University Center at High Point University. Dorms included a 3-story waterfall, sports bar, steakhouse, arcade, free movie theater, etc. Very fancy. We kept the small staff to help the university with the first student move-in. Students were really pampered, but this was the worst case I remember. One girl called for help because the power wasn't working in her dorm room. Our guys got there. None of her stuff was plugged into the outlets. We explained, "You have to plug things in for them to work." Reply, "I guess our maid must have always taken care of that. She did not know how to plug something in. When we showed her, she still stood there expecting us to plug in all her stuff." My sister was just telling me this story. She went to a private high school in a very nice area with very rich kids. One day my sister sees one of her friends crying and quickly runs over to her to ask what is wrong. Her friend, through sobs, manages to say everything is just so unfair. I can't even believe my life. My sister is so concerned because this girl seems on the verge of a breakdown. After calming her down for a bit, my sister asks again what is bothering the friend, thinking maybe someone died or her parents are getting divorced. "Well, you know my birthday is coming up, and so is my sister's. And well, sobbing some more, my parents are getting us both brand new Range Rovers. And because she is older, breaks down, she is getting the black one, but I wanted that one E. The only thing my sister could do was say I am so sorry for you and walk away. We still do feel bad for her. So detached. Why did they send your sister to that school and not you though? Because she was the oldest. I had a friend who was going to Greece with her family and asked me to come. I told her sorry, I'd like to, but that's too expensive. She responded with, "Just ask your parents to pay. I'm sure they will." I could not for the life of me convince her that no, my parents would not pay to send me to Greece. She literally could not wrap her mind around the fact that some people's parents would not pay for them to go on vacation. My brother's best friend married a pretty rich girl. He said the first time he saw her do laundry, she was going through her pockets and throwing her loose change in the garbage. She had no idea that people kept their change. Genuinely thought everyone just threw it away. I live in London as a welfare rep for American students, knowing that American college costs a bundle, and the program to come over costs a load too. These students tend to be the richest and whitest of suburbia. One day the Wi-Fi went down and I may as well have told them that there was no drinking water in the UK. About 40 students were knocking on my door telling me wasn't acceptable and that they were calling their daddies to sort it. My daddy is a lawyer. So if you think you're getting money for this accommodation when I haven't had Wi-Fi, you've got another thing cunning, that sort of thing. I tried to calm them down. Let them know it would be back on in an hour or two when one of them said the following line, "You can't blame us for being upset. We grew up in the first world." I was flabbergasted. Not only did she talk about being from the first world, who does that, like that is something to be proud of, but her entire argument was everything in my life has always been easy and perfect. How dare you take away the most minor of utilities for 3 hours? I despair. About 30% of my Facebook feed, some just post political or health or medical conspiracies. Bullshit all day and never actually research anything. Yes, but they also tell you that if you do the research like they have, aka find some crazy person's blog and treat it like gospel, then you'll know the truth too. Had a coworker ask me what denomination I am. I replied, "I don't believe in God." She was so dumbfounded that she didn't have a reply. 3 days later she came back and asked if I was worried about going to hell, or what Jesus would think. Had to explain I didn't believe in those either. She had no idea atheism existed. She was told in church that atheists were just people who were mad at God, but she thought that still meant they were religious. She was 43 years old. I live in Colorado, and there are a lot of misinformed hippies here. My best friend swears that organic produce from Whole Foods and natural grocers is nutritionally superior to organic produce from any other store. He also only drinks water that comes from those stores. Guy I know hit the Powerball for $150 million at age 19 8 years ago. He bought a little house on the river and now sits naked drinking beer and fishing all day, every day. He has no phone, no internet, doesn't get mail, no way of getting any news about anything. His girlfriend left him, and the government thought he was dead till the IRS sent someone out to evaluate the property. His parents died 2 years ago and his sister died after complications from a hysterectomy last year. So he has no family, no friends, no job, nothing. His only living contact is his dog, the occasional person who comes by his house, normally me or his neighbor. Between the two of us, we make sure he's alive about once a week. And the people at the gas station up the road, where he buys his bait and his beer. He has bricks of cash in his house laying around because he just doesn't care. He won't ever need as much as he has. Personally, I give him 10 years till he dies of skin cancer as he sits naked in the sun all day. People who think the world is flat, I mean, it's been known for a very long time. There is plenty of evidence and logic behind it. What makes someone decide nope, it's flat? We were at a table, 6 of us, eating. The conversation turned to jobs, employment. One of the guys, a rich kid that had most of his life handed to him, including his tech job at mommy's company, made the comment that he didn't understand why if someone couldn't find a job, they just didn't go back to school, get a degree, and try some more. He couldn't understand 2 things. 1. Most families cannot support an unemployed adult student for the time it takes to get a degree. 2. The jaw-dropping one was he thought that all colleges, everywhere, were free. His logic was that students go to college straight from high school, and they don't have money, so how else could they afford school? We live in the U.S., and this guy was 27 years old, and we had to tell him school costs money. Reminds me of the story on Reddit about the salesperson who thought credit card is free money. Use all you want, no need to pay back. Alternately, from my grandparent Sarah, what do you mean we don't have any money in the bank? How can we be out of money? I still have checks in the checkbook. There's a guy in France very seriously running for the next presidential elections 2017 with this program: destroying the Eiffel Tower too ugly, bringing back death penalty, annexing Belgium and Luxembourg, forbidding abortion, abolishing minimum wage, forbidding nigger music, jazz, blues, rock, rap, hip-hop, abolishing the right of asylum, kicking every immigrant out that goes without saying, removing anti-hate speech laws. I can see why. He is a fucking course from old nobility. Thinks Marine Le Pen, leader of the Front National, is too leftist. Said on a public radio, and if our ancestors were slavers, it's because they had no other choice, and those who were slaves preferred being just that then. Starving to death. A great guy all around. I had to give my friend the sex talk. Junior year of high school. Before that, he thought you took your wife to the hospital. They put you in a room. You peed on her and the baby would be conceived. Sweet Jesus. Chicago's billionaire Bruce Rauner, governor, was on a tour of the inner-city schools of Chicago before he became the governor. On some campaign BS of his, he told the inner-city black kid who clearly receives government assistance that he really must vacation in France if he gets the chance. Like, come on man, the kid needs to make it home from school alive. I'm 30 and barely speak to my parents. They still believe they have power over me, because all children must worship their parents or some kind of bullshit. They're convinced he'll come around groveling someday. The Obama conspiracy nuts are really fascinating. They somehow simultaneously believe that Obama is an effeminate weakling incapable of standing up for himself or the United States, but also a brutal dictator in waiting who's going to take away everyone's guns and bring all of America under Sharia law. Anti-vaxxers. My child doesn't need that crap in their body. Those diseases barely even exist anymore. Well, I wonder why that might be. Thanks for watching. Share your stories in the comments.